live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for June the 25th, 2021. Only a few more weeks left of the Thunderdome. 3 weeks from tonight, we will be back with fans. Houston, Texas for Smackdown. Money in the Bank will be that weekend. Some interesting events happened on this Smackdown, and it's been a newsworthy day for sure. Unfortunately, WWE did cut some more talents. Several NXT and 205 Live stars were let go from the company. Check out NoDQ.com for the very latest, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about it at the end of the video. But for now, let's get to SmackDown. We kicked off SmackDown with a recap of last week, Roman Reigns dominating and destroying Rey Mysterio, successfully retaining his Universal Championship in the Hell in a Cell match. We had Paul Heyman backstage telling Roman Reigns that Rey Mysterio and Dominik are now acknowledging him from their hospital beds. And then Jimmy Uso arrived. First thing Reigns wanted to know was, where's Jay? Jimmy said that Jay is a no-show, but finally, Jimmy managed to get a hold of Jay. Jay said he's not coming back. However, Jimmy said he does have Roman Reigns' back. And Reigns asked if Jimmy can be the new right-hand man. Jimmy hesitated a little bit, but then said yes, he could. And Reigns said, prove it. That was our opening for the show. Nice little way to start things off. To answer TJS, yes, I will be recapping the Saturday night AEW Dynamite. Stay tuned to the NoDQ.com channel for that. We had Bianca Belair come to the ring for a promo to talk about her victory at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. She cannot stop smiling because she is still the champion. She's proud of the reflection in the championship. She stood up to that bully Bayley and said anybody out there can do it. She dedicated the match and the victory to them. She said, ding dong, the witch is dead. Then we had Seth Rollins interrupt, and Rollins said that both of them overcame adversity, but he did just a little bit more than Bianca did. And Bianca squeaked by, according to Rollins. Bianca wanted to know why he was even there since they were going to be on opposing teams. A tag team match had been set up for the show with Bianca teaming up with Cesaro against Seth Rollins and Bayley. Bayley then arrived and talked about how it was a fluke victory at Hell in a Cell. Rollins started laughing. Bianca took a shot at Bayley. Rollins pulled her back, and then Bayley got up and went after Bianca. Cesaro ran down to make the save, and then we had our commercial break, and when we came back, we had our mixed tag team match. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, how long until WWE has half-empty arenas of fans? Probably not too long, unless WWE really starts to shake things up and gets fans pumped up again for the product. The first weekend is looking really good, but there are some weak advances for several of these summer tour dates. Calvin Bowman says, when will Jey Uso return? I don't know. You would have to ask Jey Uso that question, Calvin. Anyways, we had our tag team match. And it was funny because Rollins did not want to fight. He quickly tagged out. And then Bayley did not want to fight, and she quickly tagged out. Eventually, things settled into a normal tag match format. Rollins got the upper hand for a while. Cesaro got a hot tag. And then Bianca dominated Bayley for a while. But then Bayley sent Bianca into the ring post to gain the upper hand. Cesaro got back into the mix, did the big swing, and you had Cesaro with a roll-up for a near fall. Bianca ended up saving Cesaro when Cesaro was in trouble. And then Rollins saved Bayley from the KOD. Bayley then hit the rose plant to Bianca and scored the 1-2-3 victory. I thought this was a good match, but I'm going to be straight with you guys. I do not need to see another Bianca and Bayley match. I sound like an old man here, but back in my day, Hell in a Cell matches ended feuds. I'm not a fan of doing a Hell in a Cell match and then continuing the feud afterwards. Bianca already beat Bayley twice. Then Bayley beats Bianca on SmackDown, and I guess we're getting a third match now? Like, come on. Are there no other women that could step up to face Bianca? It's a little ridiculous, but match was good. We had Jimmy Uso backstage wanting to know what Reigns meant by proving it. And Heyman said that maybe Jimmy should win a match. Heyman said he could get a match for Jimmy. However, if Jimmy did not win, and then he stopped himself. So a little teaser that things might not be so good for Jimmy if he was unsuccessful in his match. Darren says, who would you like Bayley to feud with next? Bayley needs to go over to Raw. As soon as they have that draft, Bayley should be switching over just to freshen things up with her and give her some new people to feud with and just a new environment. Bayley should absolutely move over, and you could put her in there maybe with Becky Lynch. Like, have we had a really good Bayley and Becky Lynch feud? If we have, it's been a while. I'd like to see that at some point. We had a ceremony for the new king of SmackDown, King Shin. You had Rick Boogs introduce Shin. Shin came to the ring. There was a big throne, and Shin put on the crown. They were celebrating with the guitar. This was fun. Shin had this awesome outfit. But you had poor Baron Corbin backstage just completely distraught that he's no longer the king. And he said, why even bother? He just walked off. And that was that for Baron Corbin. I guess we'll see what's next for him if he shows up. Will he show up on SmackDown? Will he be gone for a while until the draft? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And then backstage, we had Seth Rollins approaching Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. He basically wants to be the next challenger for Roman Reigns. Said that he's never been more prepared. Nobody deserves it more than him. And Pearce said that they are not ready to make that decision just yet. We had a video package for Otis showing his recent rampage, putting the Street Profits out of action. We then had a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank match at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We had Big E versus Apollo. Again, because it's WWE, we got to see rematch after rematch after rematch. And it was a pretty standard match between these guys, standard TV match. You had General Aziz helping out Apollo. Big E had a submission on, and Apollo was able to get to the ropes thanks to some help from Aziz. Apollo then hit a big frog splash, which Big E kicked out of, and then Apollo hit a German suplex, which Big E once again kicked out of. And then Big E was sent to the outside. General Aziz sent Big E into the barricade in front of the referee because the referee sought and did not disqualify Apollo, but instead kicked out Aziz. So let me get this straight. We had Rhea Ripley getting DQ'd for using a piece of the announce table, but General Aziz throws Big E into the barricade. Referee sees it and just kicks out Aziz. There's no disqualification or anything. I mean, I guess it didn't matter because Big E did pick up the win with the big ending, but first of all, I would have preferred a DQ because you once again beat your champion in a non-title match. Like, the DQ would have been fine. Get Big E advancing to the Money in the Bank. Apollo doesn't take a pinfall loss. I would have much preferred that over what they did, which is not a DQ and then Big E pins the champion again. But I don't know if that feud's going to continue or not. Nonetheless, Big E is going to Money in the Bank, and Michael Wayne and Leatherface see him as an early odds-on favorite to win that Money in the Bank match. We had Sonya Deville come into the ring and announcing that Carmella is entering the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, so I guess she doesn't have to qualify. Liv Morgan interrupted and said that she already beat the conceited princess last week and deserves an opportunity more. Liv then slapped Carmella, leading to Sonya Deville making a match, and if Liv could beat Carmella, she'll get added to the Money in the Bank, or might get added. I'm not even sure what the deal is, but we had a match with Sonya Deville at ringside. The champions, the tag team champions, Tamina and Natalya, they were watching sideways backstage, and Carmella was trash talking. Liv got an earfall. She was showing a little bit of frustration. Carmella had Liv on the top and tried to do a Hurricane Rana, but Liv countered it into a pinfall and beat Carmella. So I guess Liv Morgan is now added to the ladder match, I suppose. This was all right, but do you not have enough women to put Carmella in a qualifying match? Is that what we've come down to? We had Sami Zayn interviewed about his win at the pay-per-view against Kevin Owens and said it might be the best week of his whole life. But then there was a buzzkill because Kayla Braxton said that there is a match next week. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens one more time. I guess the feud is not over. The rumors of Kevin Owens taking a break, at least not yet, because next week it will be Zayn versus Owens in a Money in the Bank qualifying match, and it will be a last man standing match. That's next week. That should be fun. Last man standing at the end of the Thunderdome era. We'll see if they break some things. I mean, they got one more week, so they can't break too much stuff, but should be a fun match next week. We had Jimmy Uso versus Dolph Ziggler, and Jimmy dedicated the match to the family. Bobby Roode was out there in Dolph's corner, and Jimmy did a running dive to Roode, but then got caught with a zigzag. Ziggler gave Jimmy a zigzag on the steel steps, and I cannot describe it. You have to look at the clip. It was brutal. Like, I can't even believe they would do that because it's so easy for something like that to go wrong. Jimmy landed right on the edge of the steps, and then he kind of like slid down the other parts of the steps, like the sharp parts. It was nasty. I was not a big fan of that, I must say. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I hope Owens does not forget about the handcuffs. Good point there. It would be a shame if Owens loses another last man standing match, that's for sure, after that whole debacle at the last event. So we had this match continue. Jimmy somehow survived the zigzag on the steel steps, and he did end up picking up the win with a super kick. Mike D with a $2 super chat says, do you think Jimmy is fully on board or a swerve? That's a good question at this point. I guess we'll have to wait and see if it's got you wondering. It's an intriguing addition to the storyline. Where is Jey Uso? and what's going to happen when he does return. Will there be more friction between the brothers? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. So after this match, Jimmy went backstage to Roman and wanted Roman's approval, but Roman said nothing. Roman went to the ring. We had another recap of the beatdown on the Mysterios. We got one at the beginning. We had another one here. And they were piped in Roman sucks chants. Heyman said Roman does not suck. Heyman mentioned all of Reigns' victims, starting with The Fiend and Braun Strowman, all the way through Owens, Edge, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, Cesaro, the Mysterios. Heyman said the entire division has been wiped out. Nobody is left. Reigns started to talk, but then we had the return of Edge. 2 months being gone since WrestleMania, Edge made his return. There was a big brawl. Reigns hit a Superman punch, went for a chair, but then Edge was able to come back and hit a spear. Edge was going to do the concerto to Reigns, but that's when Jimmy made the save, showing his loyalty to the family. Edge, however, fought back, speared Jimmy through the barricade, and then yelled out to Reigns, "Where are you at?" Reigns fled the scene, and that was the end of SmackDown. So, interesting to see Edge return now. I thought WWE would wait until July to bring back Edge. Does this mean we're going to have Edge versus Reigns at Money in the Bank? I mean, I figured we would get this one-on-one match at some point, but I was not expecting it when they were doing the Rollins tease. I was like, well, is Rollins going to get the match? Interesting that Edge is back now, but you know what? It's a pretty big match for the first event back with fans, whether it's Money in the Bank or even that SmackDown. Having that Edge versus Reigns one-on-one match should be pretty fun to watch. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat says, Uso just returned from injury. That was a risky spot. I totally agree with you, Walter. I was not a big fan of it. So overall, I thought until the end, this was a pretty lackluster SmackDown. I just wasn't too much into what was going on. Felt like a lot of filler, but I will say the ending with Edge was interesting. I think I would go with a B- for SmackDown, and it's one of those rare occasions where I thought Raw was the best show of the week as far as the WWE shows go. There was no Dynamite on Wednesday, but of the three main roster shows, I think Raw was the best of the three. None of them were bad. NXT was all right, and SmackDown was pretty decent. But I thought Raw was the most entertaining of the three shows. Michael Wayne, Don, CC Drink give it a B. MVP Kev and the Game Is On 100, as well as Leatherface, give it a B-. Darren with a C+. Israel Diaz also gives it a C+, and Daniel with a D. So a little bit of a mixed reaction for this SmackDown, but I am seeing a lot of B's, B- for SmackDown. Walter Cruz with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, Rollins interferes, setting up SS SmackDown. SummerSlam SmackDown, maybe? B- is his letter grade for the show. Darren says this was a glorified WWE Superstars episode. I don't know if I would go that far, but it certainly wasn't a super eventful SmackDown other than the end with Edge returning. The big news today was the releases. So real quick, we had 14 releases from NXT and 205 Live. We also had the release of that new WWE writer who went on a podcast and basically admitted that she was hired without having any knowledge of wrestling. And she wasn't even sure of Bobby Lashley's name. She thought maybe it was Bobby Ashley. And it got a lot of traction on social media, and I guess WWE did not like that she publicly talked about it, so they cut her. And WWE, as I mentioned, cut 14 people from NXT and 205 Live. I mean, none of them are really surprises. I will say this, a lot of people, and by the way, the full list is on nodq.com if you missed some of them. None of them were really surprises because WWE is such a bloated roster right now. I've seen a lot of negativity on Twitter, people saying like WWE's terrible and this is the last straw. Do these people not know that WWE cuts people all the time? They've been doing it for years, many years, like decades. People get cut regularly. WWE brings in new people. They cycle people in and out. It's been happening for decades. So why are people so outraged now? What happened was WWE a few years ago started hoarding talent. So AEW could not get people. WWE kept signing and signing and signing to the point where they had well over 100 people wrestling in the company. 100 plus wrestlers. And there's only so many spots. With all the TV that WWE has, there's still only a limited number of spots. And WWE decided to change course and start trimming the fat. And that's what they did. They cut a bunch of people and now people are outraged. How can you cut people during the pandemic? It sucks. It sucks that people lost their jobs. It always sucks. But it's the nature of business. It's how things are. And the positive is that those people have other opportunities. There's plenty of wrestling promotions that will pick them up. AEW, Impact Wrestling. There's always options overseas, Japan. There's plenty of indie opportunities. The pandemic is winding down. More promotions are opening back up again. So those people, they're motivated. They got to WWE because they're motivated people. And they should be able to continue to find work. Now, as far as the people cut, I mean, a lot of 205 Live people were cut, which makes me think that 205 Live is finally getting the axe, which I'm surprised it did not happen sooner. I've been a little baffled as to how 205 Live kept going for so long. I mean, I lost interest in it when Enzo got cut. And really, Enzo being the champion was a sign that 205 Live was losing importance. It was getting a spot on Monday Night Raw for a while, and Enzo won the title, and he cut that promo, pretty much buried the entire division, and then he got fired. And really, that's when I lost interest in 205 Live. So, not really surprised about those cuts. Breezango, they were among the bigger names that got cut, and even them I'm not that surprised about because they've been on NXT TV, but they haven't done much. Fandango did beat Chris Jericho, but that was almost a decade ago. Killian Dain was probably the biggest surprise of all of them, just because he's been pushed fairly strong on NXT. Him and Drake Maverick. And by the way, if I'm Drake Maverick, I would not answer my phone. I would avoid emails, phone calls. Like that's not a good sign for him. Like they've been on TV and all of a sudden Killian Dain is cut. And what happens now with Drake Maverick? It's not looking good for him, although he was not cut, at least to my knowledge at this point. Everrise was cut. A little surprising because they've seemed to be picking up some momentum on TV as of late. But then again, there's so many people in NXT and more people that are being brought into the Performance Center that are going to be getting on television at some point. So yeah, again, people get cycled in and out. And there's just way too many people under contract. It's inevitable. Yeah, WWE, they technically can afford to pay people and keep a lot of people under contract, but if you're not going to use them, then why are they there? And people are like, you don't push these guys. Well, WWE lets them go when they have opportunities now. So, yeah, it sucks, but it's the way it is. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership and support. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the releases, and who knows if there's going to be more. It's quite possible. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, 205 was only interesting when Neville was heel. Neville and Austin Aries, that was really the peak of 205 Live. And say what you will about Austin Aries, but he was entertaining. It sucks that him as a person, not the most likable guy, but as a wrestler and a promo, I thought he was really solid, and Neville was really solid too. And I think they had a very underrated match at that WrestleMania. I think it was it 32? 32 or 33? Maybe, no, it was 33. And it was in the kickoff. And those guys should have been on the main card. I don't blame the frustrations about not being on the main card, because they should have been on the main card. But yeah, that was the peak of 205 Live, in my opinion. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for tonight. I will be back to recap Dynamite. And until then, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys next time.